Yeah, now we're up.
All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into the first ever live episode of the Cinema Lords podcast. Coming to you guys fresh off of the Surviving Barstool finale. Got the boys back together for one last show, recapping, reviewing, looking forward a little bit as well. So we got John and Warren. Steve, you'll have to tape. My man Mick. Boys, how are we doing? How are we feeling after this finale?
Cinema, it was an emotional 6-8 weeks. I don't know how long the show went, but I have gray hairs because of it. I would say just off the top here, my original take, for me, the hands down the most controversial season of reality television that I've ever watched. Probably up there with like Jersey Shore, stuff like that, as far as stuff that's talked about on the internet. People hate people after this. There's been, real life implications. It's fantastic. I mean, we bitched about it. We had our complaints. I think everybody wishes some episodes went a little bit different. We wishes some people didn't side with some people and have strong alliances. We questioned their position at the company, all of it. But at the end of the day, it was fun to be a part of. And I'm looking forward to recapping this last episode and going forward with you guys. It was a fun time.
So I messaged you guys yesterday. I said, who killed Surviving Barstool? Who or what?
Right.
And then I thought about it for like good 12, 24 hours. And I came to the conclusion that Big Cat killed this season. Like everything that transpired with Big Cat really killed it. But I think the last like episode and a half kind of came back. I enjoyed this last episode as much as I was pulling for Dave. I think it all kind of came together at the end. And I think it wrapped up to be a really good season.
Absolutely. It was cinema. It was good TV. I know people wanted to jump ship, talk shit kind of at the last half of the season, but they were watching. Like, who the fuck are you kidding? I thought it was great TV. I was actually, and we'll get into it, somewhat surprised, believe it or not. I feel like I was on a roller coaster of my own opinion. And like I said, we'll get into it, but I enjoyed the season overall.
All right. I might be doing a little bit of criticizing, especially in the last couple episodes. I would like it on note right away that has nothing to do with any of the Jeff D. Lowe or the production. Like the show itself was great. The challenges I thought were fantastic the whole way through, especially all three of these challenges I thought were really, really good challenges. And I thought the pink wedding was awesome. I think all of my complaints are basically going to come down to just how the show shook out cast-wise. Because I thought the show was
a big shout out. Editing.
Oh yeah. No, the editing was great. There was actually a couple of great examples of this. The Dave Rhea conversation, I think the biggest one with the Miss Peaches tune in was fucking hilarious. But the show, I feel like, just took such a nosedive, and it was because of just how things shook out cast wise. It's just even these episodes this week, I felt like, oh man, almost like a drag to get through.
So you're saying just how it shook out post Pink Wedding, or are you saying the
yeah, I would say probably post Pink Wedding. That's probably right around the right time. Just because you figure from there it was just like Big Cat bitching out, and then basically when you look at this season in regards to say season 3, like the one we watched last year, I feel like they're totally different shows in the sense of there was so many big kills last year, there was so many big moves last year. This season, by all regards, was actually like fairly tame. Like
no one took a big jump to take that big person out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The biggest move, like legitimately, like for like a shocker, might have been Clemmer, like, which is crazy.
Pizza 4.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I had so much respect for Rowan and how he tried to play the game, and he knew the odds were against him. He knew he didn't have the numbers, so he had tried to manipulate the weak links. He tried to go with he almost had people convinced that he had an idol at that point. I think someone like him comes out on top after this. Kirk, obviously controversial with the Big Cat stuff, but I mean, you have Kirk there for a reason. He's going to stir it up. I don't think anybody wants to see the show next year without him in it. And same with Portnoy, I would say. It is kind of unfair that he's the boss, and I was bitching about how he signed the paychecks, and is that right to have him influencing the game? Now everybody knows. There's no secret, right? I mean, I think anyone with a brain knew. But now anybody at that company knows, like, oh, like Dave's actually a player in these games. Just he's using you at the time, like he used Mubi the entire way. And Dave ends up in the final 3. The fucking billionaire Dave ends up in the final 3. I could not believe they let that happen. I still am I understand he's playing the game and he played everybody at the Pink Wedding, but you people couldn't vote out Portnoy from the very beginning. It's the biggest miss in this whole game. Is Dave should have been out first or second, hands down.
But there's two ways to look at that. The first way is let's vote out Dave because he's a billionaire or whatever he is.
And
Let's
the
get rid of
boss.
him. And the boss. The
Right.
second way is let's take him to the end because he is the boss and he is a millionaire, billionaire, whatever he is. So it's funny because I feel like they always caught themselves saying like, oh, he is the boss, so you're not going to vote for him. So let's bring him to the end. And then other people are like, well, he is the boss, so let's vote him out. It was a very like weird like juxtaposition of like how you're going to vote. And even going into the final vote tonight, I thought that everyone's going to vote for Dave to win.
Me too.
So did I.
And it didn't happen. So that's the beauty of Survivor.
Yeah, I thought Rhea was the clear-on favorite going into tonight. I thought it was Rhea, Dave, Megan. Mubi was the long shot. Obviously, she got eliminated kind of right away. I don't think anybody really thought she was a threat to win at any point during any of this. But I thought it was a two-man race between Dave and Rhea. Rhea, hands down, is the favorite, and I think, you know, you heard Kirk say, like, he's not voting based off the net worth. And he said that on KMS countless times. Like, I'm not voting, and I'm not going to vote for Dave or against Dave because of how rich he is. And I think he was kind of swayed by Rhea's speech. And Rhea did do a good job. I think she got a little emotional. She got a little too much, like, you know, the world's against me and how hard I've had it. Like, at the end of the day, you have a podcast at a really successful company. Relax, babe. But but she did go through a lot, so I'm not trying to, you know, completely make a joke of it. But I thought she played a good game and her speech was meaningful. Out of all the people that were in the final three, I thought Megan had the best speech.
So
Dave's might have been the funniest as far as like I don't give a fuck, I'm rich, and this is how it is. But I thought Megan was the most passionate, at least in my opinion.
I do think Rhea's speech swung him a little bit. And I was going to say, I think the other thing was Dave saying 60-40 Rhea. I think right after that, at least by the end, I assume that's how it went, though. Kirk right away said, okay, like I'm good right after that question. That was answered. He was like, okay, I don't need to hear anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that probably, even though it was only 60-40, I think that it seemed like, to me at least, that played a role. Dave's answer.
He shouldn't have said 60-40. I actually thought that Rhea had the worst speech, in my opinion. I was going into this a couple episodes ago, maybe even up till tonight, not really sure, but Rhea as the clear favorite. Watching tonight before the vote, I actually thought, okay, this is going to be between Dave and Megan, because Megan, she kind of swayed me with the speech only because she was the lone wolf for so long,
right?
And she was winning challenges.
Exactly.
I thought that Megan was going to get like the heart, like she had the heart of it vote. And then I thought Dave just being so devious and conniving, and the fact that outside of Will being like the reigning champ, Dave probably should have and maybe had the biggest target on his back. So the fact that Dave having that target on his back and still made it to the top three, he kind of won me over in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think all the people that would have voted for Dave were just out early, and it just shook out his way. If you look at, like I said, season 3, he got knocked really early because there were guys that weren't scared to take a shot. I think that's what it comes down to. People can say it's like rigged and stuff, and it's like there are certain aspects of the game that are definitely slanted. But it's like we've already seen evidence of the opposite. So it's hard to like point your finger at this when it's like we've already seen the opposite happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I thought the voting was pretty interesting. I wrote down who voted for who just while it was happening, because I thought the most interesting vote out of everybody, the most surprised I was Rico voting for Megan, which seems almost impossible. It almost seems like a pity vote. Like he knew that she had no chance to win and she didn't backstab him really. So it was like, all right, I'll vote for Megan. But Rico got carried by Dave. He got, and Gary, he got strung along a little bit, but at the end of the day, he's not there without Dave and he's not there without Rhea. So for him to vote for Megan, I thought it made no sense whatsoever, other than him just kind of throwing her a petty vote because she knew that she wasn't going to get any votes. Because I mean, other than that, it was just Mincy. She got 2 votes. It was Rico and Mincy.
Rico's red flag is that he's too nice. And when Rico looked for that idol toward the end, and Megan just like got on his back and was like, hey, Rico, I hope you vote for me. Like if I'm in the final 3, because I'd vote for you. And Rico was like, yeah, like I'll do that. I think that was when Rico basically decided like, I'm going to vote for Megan, even though Megan was up there just to watch him and hound him to make sure he doesn't find an idol. Also, by the way,
drove me crazy?
Which it was insane. I thought Megan was going to pull a Tanya Harding and take out Rico's knees when Rico's going for the idol.
I would have loved that.
I thought that was she did everything short of physically assault Rico. So I was waiting for that to happen. But
when she went up to him, when she initially started stalking him, she started pulling like a fake cry too. She like walked up. She's terrible. Like, "Oh, I think I'm gone." Like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "This is so fake."
Go for me. Go for me. It was terrible.
When the producer told her to move from the door, and she like grabbed the chair and she like pushed it. She's like, "Is it okay if I sit here? Is this okay?" Cringe. I was like, "You're being a toddler. Like you're being an actual fucking child."
Yeah.
I want to know who that producer is. I will buy him DoorDash or whatever it is. I'll send him $50 because that was like one of the best moments of the last couple episodes, which is that producer telling her no. Because that's what we needed in that moment was just Megan, back up, go sit down. And she took it like a baby.
She did.
I thought all the girls were emotional. I mean, everybody gets emotional. The crying, we saw Chris Clemmer cry. So I mean, it does happen. But I think out of all of the girls, I'm curious to see how you guys feel about this. The justified crying and the justified emotions here. I would say Mooby number one. I don't think Mooby looked too bad. I think most of her crying was out of nerves and out of being like actually being like, I don't know these people. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I think it was genuine. I don't think it was ever any point trying to play it up. I think similar to Megan, other than that last one, it's tough because
she sobbed through her entire speech.
It is. Later in the game, she became a little more insufferable, but I don't think to the point of Kelly and Rhea. I think Kelly and Rhea both used the emotions and used how sad and how pathetic they looked to try to sway people's votes. And Rhea, especially at the end, everything's true that happened with Big Cat. Everything's true in the Marty Mush stuff and all of that. But you don't have to say any of that unless you want people to feel bad for you. Like that, her doing that was to try to get some votes and to be like, yeah, I've had such a hard game, a hard 8 years at Barstool. It's like, again, you make tons of money, you do a podcast. It's not that hard, but she's kind of swaying people a little bit. And at the end of the speech, I was like, and you heard Kirk say it, she kind of swayed or she kind of flipped him. And I was even saying like, she's going to probably get the votes after this. I don't think people are going to vote for Dave, and anybody on the fence was like, you just can't, after hearing all of that, you have to vote for her.
I hated that part about the speech, though. Like when she was talking about anything that wasn't related to surviving, I was kind of like, all right.
Right.
I will go to my grave.
You're gonna go to? Oh, sorry.
I'll go to my grave saying that Rhea used her panic attack to her favor. Like I think she sort of made that up. Like I think she was like she had a lot of anxiety, and I think she went into it like, I can't do this and I can't play this. But as soon as she felt that, like, oh, Megan walks away as soon as I have a panic attack. Rico walks away as soon as I have a panic attack. I think she used that to her favor, and like all of a sudden it was like her crutch was like, I have a panic attack. Now let's talk strategy. So I didn't like that aspect of the game.
That's a Mick Marks move, weaponizing your own mental health against other people.
I like it, yeah.
That's right up my alley.
Classic.
Self-awareness is key, Mick.
For sure.
John, did you have something else a second ago? I thought I know. I feel like we ran over there.
I don't remember what it was. No, one thing I will say though is as far as it taking a nosedive after the pink wedding, that the end of the episode, I don't know if it was episode 12 or 13, where Rico decides he's really going to go for it and start looking for the idol, and then you don't know if he has it or not. That was good fucking television. Like I was on the edge of my seat right there.
That was a great example of a great edit when they're going back and forth to the gambling cave. It's Dave, Moobs, and Rhea, and they're just like sitting back, all relaxed, just kind of like shooting the shit. And then you have like Rico, and they switch the music and everything like that. He's scrambling. That was a very good like back and forth edit.
So the question is
fantastic there when they showed Dave being like, I know Bosco has an idol, and Rico trying to keep a straight face. Like it was like watching a sports game. I was on the edge of my seat. I really was.
Did you guys believe that Rico had the idol there? Because I was all in. Like I said it as he came out. I was like, Dave's gonna know this immediately, whether he has it or not. And literally, Dave was like, as soon as he laid eyes on Rico, he's like, oh, he has it. He's got it. And I was all in. I was like, there's no chance that Rico does not have this idol. Did you guys believe that, or do you think he was fibbing?
He almost convinced me, but I thought, like, after he started talking about, I need this for like my family, I got to tell my wife. I thought if he got it, he was going to come out of that room being like, let's fucking go. Yeah. So I was pretty convinced he didn't have it when he walked out all mopey.
I openly mocked him for the same thing on a basketball court. So, Rico, we all have families. So. I don't know how to break this to you, but even dying guy over here on the court, he has a family.
Mick?
I thought he had the idol just because the way Dave has been portrayed the entire series was Dave knew Rico. Dave had Rico pegged. He knew every reaction from Rico. He could read him like a book. And I thought at that last moment they weren't going to let Dave be wrong. And I thought it was going to be Dave, Rico, and Rhea in the final three. I think I said that on KMS. We were off by one, but at the end of the day, the way they edited it, and it was fantastic. I ended up feeling a little bad for Rico. I kind of wanted him to win. And I know he's got enemies with KMS. I know he's got the beef with us, but you kind of have to feel bad for him because he's been mentally raped. That's a very good way to put it. He's been taken advantage of, and you kind of have to feel bad for the guy.
Yeah.
That dummying by Will Compton at that very end when he said, "Here's some of my winnings," and he threw the money at him was fucking amazing.
And
that was an all-time moment.
Yeah, you could see his face. It was a real reaction. Like that was a frustrated. Yeah, it wasn't good.
I thought Mincy was gonna put that money in his pocket, dude.
Yeah, right.
Fucking Mincy. I mean, I don't follow much of his content. Like I know, the idea, not the idea, but like I know he's like a me guy. Like I've seen, that circulating. And then for him to do that in his jury speech when he's supposed to be like asking questions and stuff was wild. That was like the first time I was like, oh wow. I was like, all right, I get it now. This guy's a egomaniac.
I will say Rico had one of the fastest 180s in my opinion. Like he went from giving Dave the idol, the necklace, which everybody was like anti-Rico at that point, where like 2 episodes later, I feel like everybody was pulling for Rico. So that's where I was like, if he got to the final 3, where would that house vote for him? Because I honestly would have voted for Rico if he made it the final 3, but it didn't feel like when
Megan, you're saying? If he was there instead of Megan, you're saying?
I think if he was there, no matter what, I think I retweeted you today, Mick, and I said, if Rico's in the final 3, I think he wins almost unanimously because Kelly, no matter what's voting for Rhea. But like, I would have voted for Rico, but I just didn't feel the jury really felt that way toward the end, even though I felt like the way the edit came out, like he looked really good by the time he got eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
If it was Dave, Rico, and Rhea, I would, if I was voting, if I had a vote based on best gameplay, I would have gone Dave, Rhea, Rico. I would have voted. If it was Rhea or Rico, I would have gone Rhea. Yeah, I would have gone Rhea.
The way I thought the house was going Dave. I was very surprised when I saw all the Rhea votes. Like,
I thought so too. Again, that's a good edit. It's like an edit that actually got me. Like, you know what I mean?
The fact Kirk voted Rhea is surprising to me. Yes. I thought he would have voted Dave. Like, I would have put $1,000 on Kirk voting Dave on. Yep.
I think he went into it. I think he basically said that actually in one of the confessionals. I think he said like I was going into this voting for Dave, and he got swayed.
I was surprised.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. I was surprised Biz voted for Dave and Taylor voted for Dave as well. Despite all the hate, despite even the the busting drama, the contracts and stuff, I think Taylor knew that Dave. He played a pretty damn good game, and he was willing to, he was like, I suck at the game. Whitney said, I suck at the game. I think Will Compton's pretty good at it. I think everybody would say he's a strong player, but the A-team athletes they got outplayed. They really did by the content.
I think Whitney was one of the stars of tonight's entire episode run. I think Whit was one of the stars. Whit was great.
I'll just say this. I have a preview for next season. I put together a top 5 odds. And Ryan Whitney is someone to keep an eye on. We'll get to that later. But
he was my favorite going into this season.
I remember that.
But when does his contract end, Mick?
It's a good point. It's really good.
We gotta keep an eye on that.
Which Barstool through and through.
Can I throw a quick question at you guys?
Yeah, of course.
If Dave didn't admit or say the 60-40 thing between him and Rhea, let's say that never came up.
Yeah.
Did you guys? Who do you think was running who? Dave versus Rhea.
Dave is that's a foolish question in my opinion, because Dave is Dave and Rhea is Rhea. Dave's always going to run that relationship. He signs the paychecks. He's Dave Portnoy. No matter what's said, no matter if Rhea thinks she's running it, Dave is running it. Like, people need to understand, like, he somehow got people to vote him into the final 3, being the richest, most powerful guy at the company. I don't know how people are missing this.
That's why I would have voted for him.
That's crazy.
No. I think you're absolutely right. When push came to shove and it was time for him to really, really do something, it was the pink wedding, and he did that.
Yes.
And leading up to that, it reminds me of say I'm a big fan of the Bear. It's like, even though like he's at the top and Rhea's below him, sometimes you just give him the keys and you say drive.
Yeah.
And it's like you're just gonna let them do the work, but you have trust in them to not fuck it up, basically. And I'll just kind of ride along with you until it's time for me to fucking put on my cape and do my thing. And then once it came time for him to do that, he fucking did that.
Yeah.
I think as much as nobody will ever admit this, Dave is a softie at heart. The way he handled Rico at the end, where I feel like he was legitimately pulling for Rico until that he felt like the strings were pulled against him. I think he was sort of pulling for Rhea to win. Like, I think at that point, like him getting to the final three, he won. Rhea winning was just like, okay, that's fine. Like, I won just by getting here. And now let's be honest. Let's get Rhea the victory. And he's going to do the same thing next year. Like, his only goal next year is just go to final three. And then he wins again. It's like Michigan, right? Ohio State might lose on Monday, but no matter what, Michigan wins. Like, that's how he plays the game.
I wrote it down that Rhea won surviving Barstool. Dave dominated it. I think that's the best way to put it. Dave controlled the entire game. Even if he didn't get the votes at the end, the game was played through Dave. Even if he didn't, he made people think that it wasn't up until the most crucial moments. He got rid of the powerful guys in the company. He got rid of his enemies. He knew who was who. He even said it to Kirk right to his face. He was like, I got to get rid of you because you're a good player. You're someone who's a threat here. He said it to Rowan. He said the same thing. Like, you're someone who's a threat. Some of the other athletes weren't smart enough to keep up with him, but Dave played a hell of a game. And I don't think it would have been great seeing him win the $250K or his own money. But at the end of the day, I think he was probably the strongest player in this game.
Dave was.
That's one of my biggest things going forward, is that can't happen. Like that. Like, we can't have any of that shit, whether it's Dave. Like, there was one thing that came up that really pissed me off, was when Dave said, if I fuck over Rhea, what happens with chicks in the office? Right. That question has no place in this game
Cinema, he's Vince McMahon. You know what I mean? He's not
I understand that.
Like, I think he does that knowing it's like, yeah, people are going to hate this. People are going to think this is bullshit, and it's still my show, and you're still going to watch. Like, I think that's just how he is. And I understand what you're saying. It is complete bullshit. It shouldn't be like that. But you heard the busing.
It's for everybody. It's not just him, though. I'm saying for, like, no one should be looking in for the ball. It's this whole concept of people looking into these things that's like, if you guys really want to do this, if this is really what we're doing, this is a big fucking $1 million operation. We're doing Surviving Boston with this massive cast. Right. We cannot be fucking having these stupid little integral breakdowns of the business. Like, that's not what we're here for. We're here to play a fucking game, and we're here to play it fucking hard. Whether it's a contract renewal, or if it's their 8th year in the fucking company, or someone's getting married, or they're a girl or a guy, or whatever the fuck ever. If you play the best game, I mean, that's just me. I'm a fucking Survivor fan. So that's what I care about. You play the best game. I don't give a fuck who you are or what your standard is. I'm going to vote for you to win. And I thought that was Dave.
I agree with that. The problem is, what they need to do is they need to make the cast smaller, and they need to very much handpick this cast, because they need to make 16 to 20 people that Dave knows, or Big Cat knows. Like, my theory is, I think I said it last time, Big Cat should pick this cast. Dave should not know the cast going forward. He should be in it, but he should not know the cast. And they should pick 16 to 20 people that they know there will be no issues going forward about contracts, about holding. Even Rhea said, I'm going to hold this against Dave. And that's bullshit. You're right. But, like, if you get Brandon Walker in there, if you get all these other guys in there, it shouldn't be an issue.
I think Brandon fucking Walker's going to take it personally.
I think Brandon Walker understands it. Brandon Walker's one of those guys, though. If he's in the jury, he will vote for Dave if he plays the best game. I
agree. Yeah.
I think there are
against him.
I think there are a couple people you could add, like, for sure, Brandon Walker, Chicken Fry, no bias there. But
maybe a little bias from you, Mick. But
we've had this question from the start: is it better for the people to know each other and to work, have the company relationship? They work together. Is that better for the show or worse for the show? Because regular Survivor, they don't know each other. They're all just kind of reality TV stars, whatever it is. I think we got our answer. I think the answer is it's probably worse for the game itself, but better for the drama. Yeah. I think, like, the social media aspect and the talk about the game, like, Big Cat is a different person after this game. And that all happened because of the way it swayed and how Kirk got mad at him. That doesn't happen in regular reality TV. Like, there are relationships that are affected going forward. Hands that you don't see that on Jersey Shore. You don't see that on any of these stupid shows. Like, these people now have to work with each other. They have to pretend to get along. And you could even see during tonight, some of the speeches, you could see Kirk just you could see it on his face. He was disgusted at some of these people. He's like, just get this over with. Give me the fuck back to my hotel room. And there were some other people that, like Will Compton going at Rico. Like, there are real implications after this. And it might not be the best way to watch the show, but having the boss in it, having the guy who signs the paychecks, having Big Cat influential at the company, the smiling assassin, all of it, I think it makes for great TV. So I would like to see everybody who's in the jury tonight in the next season. Everybody who is there tonight, I want to see them in season 5 or whatever we're on. We need it.
I doubt Big Cat will do it again.
Yeah, he shouldn't. But to play devil's advocate to that, Mick, Jersey Shore, I understand that analogy, but none of those guys have a podcast. Like, every single person in this show, we can go hear their thoughts outside the show. Like, Kirk obviously has a show. Like, anybody else you want to listen to. Jersey Shore, we just don't hear it. I think they take it personally. We just don't hear it because we don't have the opportunity. We're hearing everything before it even happens. Like, Kirk told us the winner of the show 10 times over because he said everybody won.
Yeah.
Like, we hear all that stuff before the show even airs. So it's a very different dynamic.
Yeah, I just don't think I'm ever going to be, and it's probably because I'm a Minute fan, but even if Kirk wasn't in the season, he was the straw that stirred the drink, and he got the most controversial moments for sure. But take him out of this, I would still be more invested in the fact that Dave Portnoy is in a final 3 compared to any random 3 Survivor contestants against his own employees. Like, to me, it is unfair, and it probably shouldn't happen. And we all agree it's a influential dynamic that probably shouldn't exist in any other game show. But that's kind of what makes the show great. Like, it's controversial. It makes no sense, and everybody hates each other afterwards. You don't really see that anywhere else. So I've signed me up for next season. I'm in. I bitched about this thing countlessly, but I am in for next season.
Oh, I've needed this. I said it like right off the beginning of the first episode. I was like, this is a scratch that I desperately needed to itch. And thankfully, the show didn't, even if it fell off. But just talking this, that, and the other thing. We're going to keep going with a couple of things from tonight. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the first 2 episodes that we got here. A couple of good Kirk moments. We got Hate is Priceless, which is just an all-time fucking
Print the shirt
on a t-shirt right now. Like, how aren't those being sold?
That whole intro was great, though. I mean, Big Cat just sulking into the house. The boys are playing knockout.
Yeah.
And he just sulks in like, hey, can I play? And fucking Kirk just shuts it down. It was so
You know what Big Cat should have done? He should have walked in that house and challenged Kirk to a one-on-one.
Oh,
and this settles it right here. Me and you. The cat doesn't.
What Big Cat should have done is just keep playing the game. Because that's the biggest thing, is like, he was playing the game so well, he's playing it hard, and as soon as he felt a little bit of remorse, he stopped playing the game and he was like, vote me out. And that was like, I feel like that killed everything. Like, if he kept playing hard, I feel like we would have a really fun final 3, final 4, and completely then we get sulking Big Cat trying to play pickup basketball.
Isn't that kind of what makes the show great? Like, if you read his blog, I imagine you guys did. And I thought it was kind of genuine. I mean, I don't think anybody forgives him for playing up his Chicago fanhood, especially from Chicago or any of that. But like,
I hated it.
I think he was pretty real about it. Don't you think, Cinema? Do you think watching tonight, like, he was a shell of himself at that jury? You could tell. Like,
I gotta be honest. I already thought he was a scumbag after the last few days, and I have to saw it tonight. I think he's a biggest scumbag. I thought he looked awful tonight. I feel like he kept just doing shit that was like making him. The more he was like just sitting there, like, nope. I was like, dude, you're overcommitting. Like, everyone knows that you're so concerned about how you're being viewed right now that you're overcommitting. Like, you need to just chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought he left because he wanted to start planning getting ahead of the Newton thing. I'm not even kidding. Like, I thought.
Oh, I think so.
Once he knew when Kirk said that was going to be seen by the masses, I thought his mind just started spinning, and he's like, all right, I need to get out of this game. I need to start planning my fucking whatever it is, my like public tour of my apology and figuring all this out.
I don't think it was that planned out. I think it was more of him hearing that for the first time in front of all of the other employees, in front of everybody else who's ever respected Big Cat. Nobody ever going to stick it to him. Kirk said it in front of literally everybody and on their biggest platform. We all got to see it tonight. We got to make a mockery out of the fact that Big Cat's from Newton. He's never had that. He's never had a controversial moment on the internet. I mean, that I can remember, like a real Portnoy's had a ton. Other guys at Barstool, Francis has. Other guys. Big Cat's loved by everybody. Like that was his first moment, and he's still kind of going through it. That's why it's tough for me to laugh at him because it is funny. He's not really from Chicago, so it's not that big of a deal to someone like me. I don't really give a fuck. But at the end of the day, you can see on it something like tonight, he looked like a shell of himself, and I think this whole thing. I don't think he planned it out being like, yeah, I got to get the Newton thing. I got to get ahead of it, all that. I think when Kirk said it, it hit a trigger hit and he was like, I'm done. Like, I think he mentally just kind of broke. Maybe that game does this to you, but it might not be a good thing for him to run it back in season 5 or whatever we're on, because if anybody looks bad after this, it's probably Big Cat. And I don't think it was intentional. Sorry, go ahead.
There's zero reason for Big Cat to play next season because he's already said he played this season. He wanted to play it tough. He realized that he screwed over too many friendships, that he shouldn't have done it. So if he plays next season, he went from a gigantic phony to an even more gigantic phony.
Right.
If he doesn't go into next season saying like, no, there's absolutely no way I play no matter what, then like, how do we take him for his word for anything? Because now is his time to keep it clean. His slate is clean. We know he's from Newton. We know he drinks Sam Adams. We know he loves Tom Brady. We know all these things. You can't go back and say next year, be like, well, I'm going to play Surviving Barstool this year, and I'm going to play it really tough because I just don't care. Like we know everything about Big Cat. He needs to just do the honorable thing and say, I'm done. I will do whatever you need me to do. I will not play this game, but I'll do anything outside of that.
Obviously, KFC does not carry the same weight as Big Cat does. But we saw how hard, if you watch season 3, which I'm sure you guys all did because Kirk was in that as well, but KFC played really fucking hard in season 3. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather have, if it's like him or Big Cat, I'd rather have KFC in this all day. Mm-hmm. Big Cat's just gonna, he already showed it. He was making a good move this season, then he fucking crumbled. So I have no use for him in another season. No use. And in the first season, not the first season, but season 3, the one he was in last year, he basically just didn't give a fuck because it was like a random Sunday in the middle of the NFL season. Like he couldn't be bothered and miss the game.
Yeah, he was like the Caleb of this year.
Right.
Yeah. No shit. Yeah. And then he was all like fucking confused and butthurt as to why he got eliminated.
Out of the speeches tonight, for the people who weren't contestants, out of the non-final 3, who do you guys think had the best speech?
Well, I don't know who had the best speech, but one thing I'll say about the speeches is if Francis didn't say the name White Sox Dave in his speech, I wouldn't have remembered he was in the show at fucking all, dude.
Yeah.
You
I had him in my pool, so
like Smitty, White Sox Dave. There's a handful of people that like
had Smitty too.
Wallow.
Like, who were,
do you remember him?
Wallow,
like, yeah.
That's why you trim this cast by like 4 to 6 people. Like we just don't even remember those people.
That's one of the things I have for going forward as well. Is I thought like maybe 18 roughly would be like a good number, something like that. But we talked about, like Kirk mentioned it too, as far as phones go. Like obviously there was a big step down from season 3 as far as phone usage goes. But even still, like it played, like I was shocked at the Will Compton text, to be honest, because I haven't watched much Bussin' with the Boys content. Like Kirk is very much expressed that he's like a smart guy, like he's good wits and shit like that. So for him to think that this was okay, like from a game, like I was shocked by that. Like that's tampering of the highest order. So that actually surprised me a little bit, but that like cannot happen. Like I think Kirk said like an hour a night to like text your family or call your family. If you're going to do this, that's what you have to do. Just take everybody's phone. They get like 1 hour at the end of the day to call your family, because any more than that, you have things like this. Like I was stunned by that Will Compton text. Stunned.
Yeah, I think no phones would be beneficial for everybody. Obviously, if they do the content during the week, but if they can make it somehow no phones, I think it's beneficial for the game. I think it makes it more intense too. The fact that people can't, hey, is our alliance still alive after this last challenge, even though they're not in the same room, communicating in front of the same people that they have to lie to in 10 minutes, that sort of thing. The reassurance of a phone having to text somebody after like a bad challenge or after a flipped vote, something like that should not be allowed. I think Will reaching out to Rhea, I mean, Rhea made it sound like Will threatened her entire family, her livelihood of her, everything. Like
instead of giving her the blueprints on how to win.
Oh my goodness! When the text was finally read, or when Will explained what happened, I was like, it was a little slimy, but at the end of the day, it's part of the game. Like Jersey Jerry had a fucking camera; he was spying on people. Like, what are we talking about here?
I didn't even think of it till just now, but after Will Compton got eliminated and he said, like, go win the game, I'm talking about you. Right after that, I thought it was crazy, actually. But we saw a clip where Rhea says, I think he was talking to me. Right. And I remember thinking, I was like, what a fucking egomaniac this girl is, but thinking that he was talking about her. And it turns out that he actually was.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about that.
In the moment, I thought that was for Biz. I thought he was shouting out Biz because him and Biz kind of had like
that's what I thought too.
The alliance that they were the two on the outside. But yeah, no, he had a strong alliance with Rhea, and Rhea three different times during her speech was like, the only alliance I had prior to this game was with Will, was with Big Cat, was with Dave. She said it 3 different times. She's like, the only alliance I had going into this was 7 different people. It's like, fuck you,
dude. Every time she spoke, I didn't know what the hell was going on, and that's not even just a play on the edit with Dave. Like that was a very funny edit, but I felt the same exact way that they made that edit. Like I felt like that was for me because I was sitting there going, I'm not following a word you're fucking saying, Rhea.
Yeah.
The more I'm thinking about it, the crazier it is because, like I just said, like she thought Will was talking to her when he says win it all, and then he gave her a blueprint on how to win it all, and she was like, these people that fucking with my head. And it's like, first of all, one person sent you one text message. So like, let's settle down. Like you're not being stalked and harassed with like 200 text messages. Like, you got one text. But now that I think about it, that's crazy for her to react like that on the back of her knowing that fucking.
And she knew that Will wanted to kill Dave anyway, so that text actually shouldn't even be that big of a surprise.
She also said that Will texted Marty to text her, which is very interesting.
I hated that.
That was terrible. So I'll say one thing. Like I agree with Mick. Like I think they should have half an hour in the morning, half an hour at night to text her family, talk to her family. Outside of that, no cell phones. However, here's my question for you guys. I don't know if Cinema's still here or not. My question is, did cell phones, text messages make this season better or worse?
Worse.
Again, I think it made the game worse, like the individual play-to-play, but as a viewer, as seeing what had happened, and having the Big Cat confessional to Rhea being like, don't do it. Yeah, no, I need to see that. I don't care. So, yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like it would probably be a better game to watch without the phones. But you don't get that. Right. You don't get that kind of stuff.
Or the Will thing. The Will thing changed how Dave perceived the game, too, because Dave was all for Rico. But once he heard about that text message, which who knows if he actually read it or not, because the way Rhea described the text that Will sent her was way different than what he actually sent, in my opinion.
Yes. Oh, my God, it was. And anyone's opinion. The way Rhea
different. But if that doesn't happen, does Dave then keep Rico and give him his idol and keep Rico to the final 3? I don't know. Maybe. Text messages, man. Cell phones. Let's get rid of them.
I do feel like everything that I would change is making it more like Survivor.
I know.
I think that's just because I'm a Survivor fan.
Yeah. How about when the girls just cornered Rico and he didn't know what to do and he just had to give it up?
That was infuriating to watch, honestly.
Yeah, it was.
Infuriating.
So that moment, name one other male cast member of this show that would stand there and take that. I think Rico might be maybe Mincy is the other one. But if that was Kirk would say, fuck off, walk away. Dave would say, fuck off, get away. Most of those guys, and then Rico's such a nice guy. He just stands there and is like, oh, yeah, sure, pat me down. I don't care. Just pat me down. And just keep, hammering me with questions. So, I don't know. I feel bad for Rico, but at the same time, he could have just walked away.
Yeah. Right. But then, I mean, he still made it through that vote. Oh, no, he played the idol, right?
Yeah, he played the idol that vote.
Yeah, he had to play the idol, yeah. Well, but they were going to vote him if he didn't, though. So it didn't really matter.
No.
He
had to play the idol, and it was going to be. It would ended up being a 2-2 vote, but no votes for him counted. That's right.
That's when he had the idol. That was before the fake. We thought he had the idol after.
No, but what I'm saying is him showing it or not. I guess. I thought it was kind of silly that he let them bully him, but
Right.
It wasn't to his detriment that he showed them, I guess, looking back.
I think it definitely was, which is exactly why I think Dave initially lied. That was the first time that Dave had done anything that was against Rhea or Moobs in any sort of way.
Yeah.
They asked if Rico had an idol, and he straight up said no, which means that Dave was definitely highly thinking about the possibility of making a move with Rico and not telling the girls that he had an idol, and then being able to vote 2 votes to whoever it may be, and Rico playing his idol, and just like that, boom, whoever it is, Rhea, that's who it should have been. I'm shocked that Dave, like he said a billion times over, like he's not in this for the money. It's his fucking money that he's paying out. He's here to win, which is why it befuddles me as to why he never thought to take Rhea out.
So by my recollection, that is the only time Dave lied in this entire game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So if Dave gets to the final 3 and he lies once, and even that lie is very minuscule at that point, I would look at that as like in the normal game of Survivor, I would say, I'm voting for this guy because he obviously plays such a good game. He virtually never lied, and he's there. And I'm just surprised like he didn't get more votes because of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did the opposite of lie. Like he said, he pointed out everybody for every vote, every elimination. He could not have been more straight up.
Yeah. Like, hey, Kirk, we're going to vote for you. And he's like, all right, cool. Like, I had to scramble. Like, it was kind of amazing that he just lasted that long. But to that extent, he is the boss. He signs the checks. And then all right. So I joked about it last time how Dave should be in Waco and he just, controls the game. Mooby, literally in one of these episodes this week says, maybe I should sacrifice myself.
Yeah.
And
Tough.
I'm like,
Tough.
wow. Like, how does that, like, that speaks volumes where she's like, I might just vote myself off because I don't want to vote Dave off. That should tell you that, I think, did Clemmer say it? Like, the game is tilted or slanted. Like, that's the best indication is when you have a player in like the final 5 or 6 and she's like, maybe I'll just vote myself off because I don't want to vote Boss off.
I hate to keep taking Dave's side, but like what he said is right. Everybody else is forming alliances before the show.
Right.
So realistically speaking,
hold on, Cinema, including Dave though.
Right.
Like Dave said to Mooby, hey, you want to do Survivor? Mooby says yes. The very next text is, okay, we're alliances. Of course Mooby's going to do it. She got into the game.
That part is the slanted part.
That was bullshit. I thought that was, but again, like I kind of love it because everybody at the company hates it. Now it makes an interesting dynamic. Like I kind of think that part of it is completely unfair, but it makes this show unlike any other, in my opinion.
If she had been hired, like, say, 2 months ago, and she was planning to be a part of this cast for, she wasn't a fill-in like, say, Mincy was, then I think it looks better than it does right now. Because you're absolutely right. I feel like from that dynamic is what makes it look worse.
Yeah.
Because going into the show with an alliance, it's what everybody does at this point. Some people are going in there with 16 alliances.
I think you're viewing it from more of a Survivor fan, which I completely understand. I'm not a Survivor fan. Like, I never really watched it. And I think legitimately this is pro wrestling to Dave Portnoy. I think he's like, let me just spice this script up a little bit. Let me get the people talking. I don't care at all. All of this is beneficial to me, whether it's my 250 or not. They made much more than 250, I imagine, off the series. So for him, this is a win no matter what. He played the internet. I got to tip my cap to him. He really did. Throughout the show, I thought he was a scumbag at some points. I thought he was an asshole. I hated the way the pink wedding went when he was manipulating all of his employees. But I mean, these are real people at the end of the day. You have to know this. Like, this is who he is. He's not just going to like, oh, you're new at the company, I'm going to take it easy on you. No, at the end of the day, Dave was in the final 3, not Mooby, not his little pawn that everybody thought he was trying to make, famous. Mooby really, I guess she got some love, but she was kind of a forgotten about person in the series. I mean, she never really moved the needle for anybody. And I don't think she was hate. I don't hate her because of it. She's not really likable though. Like Dave didn't really accomplish much with dragging her along. I think if anybody looks good in this, it's Dave.
Right. Which is classic Survivor though, because I wish I looked it up. I want to look it up earlier. So Boston Rob might be the most like famous Survivor ever. There was a Survivor season maybe 10 years ago. I don't know, 6-7 years ago. Maybe you remember it, Cinema. Everybody knew Boston Rob was the best in the game. Like, it was not his first year. Everybody knew he was the best. And he took maybe the worst girl in the game to the final 3.
Yeah.
And everybody was just
the
like
most useless, utterly. Yeah.
She was terrible, and all she did was
Might have been worse than Moobs.
Yes, she is the Mooby of the real Survivor,
Yeah.
and she just sat back and just voted the whatever way Boston Rob wanted her to vote. And guess what happened? She came in second,
Right.
and she was very happy coming in second. Boston Rob was very happy coming in first. And what happened was the jury sat back and said, "How did we let Boston Rob just drag her to the end? Like, obviously, we're not voting for her because she did nothing, but we're going to vote for Boston Rob because he just manipulated it to the end. So you need to drag people to the end, and that's what Mooby was. She was literally just a pawn." To drag to the end, and she would have been a better pawn than Megan because I think Mooby would have gotten 0 votes. But like, you still need those people. Like, you don't want to go to the final 3 with, if you're the best player, you don't want the second and third best player with you in the final 3. You want to be the best player with like the 9th and 10th best player,
Right?
Because then you will win unanimously.
That's why, like, I don't necessarily think the best player won tonight. Like, Rhea maybe deserved to win in some aspects, and she went through a lot. She'll tell you that. She'll be the first one to tell you that.
Yeah,
but
no
I
shit.
think we all would agree that Dave probably
comes from like a family of pretty good privilege, if I'm not mistaken.
There were no girl brands at Barstool.
There you go. There you go.
If I'm not mistaken, I think she comes from a well-off family.
Yeah.
I will say I have a coworker who's watching Surviving Barstool, and he made a good point to me this week. He goes, if they vote for Rhea, that's a vote for Marty. And I go, oh, that's actually a really good point. Like, I kind of like Marty. Like, 125,000 of that's going to Marty Mush, and I'm like, I don't mind Marty, so
good point.
I could vote that way.
Rumors they got a wedding to plan, so maybe they get a good wedding. That's fine.
Right.
I don't know. I have a love-hate with Marty. He dropped like 8 threes on us, so that's
Yeah, that was wild.
Who was defending him though, John?
he couldn't miss.
Who was on him?
I don't know. I don't think it
We
matters.
were playing a zone, so it didn't really. That's why he was able to shoot so many threes.
Was that the box one we're talking about?
That's what happens when you put a fucking bunch of schmucks out there. We're all used to talking into a microphone. Next thing you know, we're dribbling a basketball against people that have actual athleticism.
Yeah. Let me give you my
trying to survive.
Let me hit you guys with the odds for next season and tell me if you disagree with anything. I got my 5 favorites here. This is obviously assuming that they play, and I have 2 alternate lines for people that weren't in this season. So let me start you off. Number 1, my favorite. Do you know what next season is? Number 5? Is it
5?
Surviving
5.
Okay.
Yeah, Tommy
Surviving-
Smokes, Eddie, Chicago, Will, and now Rhea.
All right.
Oh,
My odds for Surviving Barstool season 5. Number 1, Roan plus 250. I think Roan showed he can play a good game. He's likable.
Mick, he was the only one that I think he was the only person who didn't put his hand up.
Really? That he wouldn't play
During that when Jeff said
really?
who here would play, I think it was his last question. He said, question, who would here would play again? I think Roan was the only person who didn't have his hand up.
Oh, I
Too
thought
nice.
Taylor didn't
Too
put his hand
nice.
up.
Maybe Taylor, I might have missed it, but I know Roan didn't, and I looked around. I saw Biz had his hand up.
Taylor's ineligible for obvious reasons. I think.
Yeah. I don't have the boys in here, but
Yeah.
I have Roan.
Are they gone? Is that like established?
It seems like 99.9% official. Yeah.
That's the. I don't watch Bustin', but I like seeing Kirk interact with Will and like kind of the same. Like, I like seeing Kirk interact with Barstool. I like when Will interacts in the same thing. It's the only vein I know him in. But
So I'll say my wife, who has no idea about anything Barstool, but she's watched Surviving Barstool with me. Her lasting impression is she loves Wit and she loves Will. So I don't know. And she's always like, "Wait, what sport did he play?" I go, "Will played football. Will played hockey." She's like, "Okay." She's like, "I wish Will won." I go, "Well, he won last year." So
I'm most curious about where Mick's going to have Wit right now on this list. Go ahead.
All right. So we got Roan at plus 250. Number 2, and I have 2 tied for second. I have Portnoy at plus 400. Again, he has proven he can get to the final 3 despite his net worth, despite his ranking at the company. Dave's a threat in these games, and the only thing that's hurting him is I think everybody now knows that he's a threat, and he might be the first person to have a target on his back going forward. No, tied with him would be Kirk. I think Kirk's a top 3 for next year. Again, he will have a target on his back. People will know he's going to be the guy that's going to hate you if you vote him out, so maybe we should just get him out early. We can get the numbers and get rid of him, but the longer Kirk goes in these games, I think the more dangerous he becomes because it becomes real. And it showed that with Big Cat. It showed that with Rico. There's implications much further than just the game. If you listen to KMS, you know that. Next, I would have Rico plus 600. Again, just more of a likable figure. Showed he can kind of hang in the pocket. I thought his interaction with Kirk at the house was. It wasn't great, but it wasn't pathetic. He looked him in the eye. He said, "Look, I was trying to win the money." Like he didn't front from it. He was like, I lied to you. I trusted Dave and Big Cat, but that's what it was. I wanted to win the money. So I kind of respected him a little bit there. And honestly, number 5, Cinema, you're going to like this. Ryan Whitney.
Yeah.
Ryan Whitney, a dark horse number 5 at plus 800. And I think part of it is his hatred for Dave Portnoy. It is real. He does not want to see Dave win again. He's competitive. The way he went out in this game, I don't think it sits well with Whit. If you've listened to him on KMS, he was pissed off. I think Whitney comes back with a vengeance next year.
Yep. Kirk said he's been texting him a bunch, like about how things worked out. So he's starting to get that, he's starting to get the juice going. He's great friends with Kirk. I think Whit's a good pick in this next season.
Couple alternate lines real quick.
There's a few guys I like.
2 people that weren't in this year that I think could make a damaging impact. Tommy Smokes plus 120. If he's in it, he's my favorite to win. Tommy, when you saw him put together that challenge on Twitter, he did that easily. Tommy's a survivor threat. And again, bias here. No bias.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I'm sorry, just last one. No bias whatsoever. Plus 180 chicken fry. If she's in it, I think she's a threat to win. Mentally manipulate people. She'll be fantastic. Go ahead.
I've been writing all these odds down. I'm not writing that last one down. Tommy putting up that stack in 4 minutes. Was
the most biggest red flag for survivor people versus non-survivor people. I feel like
I tweeted after that. I was like, the fact that everybody thought building wider on that challenge was crazy. Is crazy. Like you literally just have to build up as strong as you can. It was like Tommy would have smoked people in these challenges, and that's just a great example of how he would have run the game in a lot of instances, unless you got him out first.
Which he won Survivor, and he won another game too. I think it was fucking Barstool Outdoors or some shit like that.
Oh, that's right.
But it's very much the same thing as far as just we're not going to let Tommy get to the end because obviously if he gets to the end, he's going to win, and he does the same thing. He's a little snake.
I will say with those odds, Mick.
Yep.
Portnoy and Kirk, it would be tough to throw money on them because those targets are gigantic on their back.
Yeah.
So I do really like Roan. I wish Roan had more time in this game because I think he would have been a big player. And then I really do like.
I think Kirk would have worked with him a lot too. I feel like.
Yeah, it felt like they had a really nice alliance until they got split up. And then Whit, I think there's a not a sophomore. What's the opposite of a sophomore slump? It's like a sophomore, I don't know, stellar sophomore.
There you go.
I think you need to taste Survivor before you realize how to play it. Big Cat's a good example. He played it so nonchalant, got voted out, and as soon as he got voted out, he was like, "This sucks. I really need to play hard." And Big Cat is a bad example at the end because he got himself out. But if you had that same desire that Big Cat did in his second season, if Whit does that but doesn't quit like Big Cat, he could go to the end, he could win the thing.
That's another big thing as far as going forward goes. I feel like the next cast, I don't know if you want to sit them down in a classroom and show them the last 2 seasons of Survivor or whatever. Yeah. But it's don't get me wrong, the biz, independent biz thing, it from a viewpoint, it gets funny for 10 minutes. It is funny and I laugh at it. But then from the big picture, it's it sucks from watching a game perspective. I want people here that are here to fucking play and interact in the actual game.
Yep.
It stinks having people like that. So it's but it's they don't know what they're getting into. They just hear oh, we're getting up all the biggest personalities at Barstool together to play this game at the Chicago office. And, I'm sure Biz is oh yeah, that sounds fucking great. Having no idea what the fuck he signed up for. It seemed like Whit didn't know what the fuck he signed up for.
Well, I mean, I think it was telling when Biz didn't know what an idol was in week 11 or whatever. Yeah, it was tough to say that he was super into the game. I think he was entertaining to watch for I'm going to go solo, and it's kind of fun to root for, but nobody thought he was going to win. At least I didn't think.
Mick, the final vote, he was I still don't really know
that's what I mean.
What you guys are talking about. But I think seeing Riggsy and Frankie would be interesting because Frankie's a sneaky psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's
then watching I would love to see a video of Riggs having to let's say he gets voted out early and he has to leave the loser house and he's crying when he left the golf course.
Yeah. You guys don't know how much this means to me. That's an unbelievable.
You guys.
Riggs also likes to get drunk and get fiery, so I could see him being on Surviving Barstool and all of a
Crying,
sudden
maybe.
snapping off.
I need Clemmer in season 5 as well.
Clemmer's got to be back.
I need Clemmer at least in tonight. He's must watch TV at some points. Like, he has no problem looking like a fool. He's yelling at Dave, and Dave's like, "Clemmer, what the fuck are you talking about?" Everybody's laughing. Like, him and Clark are going bantering on the couch. It's fantastic.
When Rico comes in and Kirk and Clemmer are just sitting there, it's almost you can see Clemmer's just like,
it's like Batman and Robin.
He's like sitting there in his good graces, like, yeah, Rico, you fucked up, man.
So Survivor's done this in the past where they have like factions when they start a show. It'd be kind of interesting if they did Surviving Barstool, where half the cast is like Survivor nerds and they know the game, like Clemmer and Tommy,
right?
Versus like
that'd be cool.
People that have never watched a show before, and that's how you start your two tribes. I don't know like how you'd split some people up, because obviously you need some people. Like Kirk's never seen the show before, but he's obviously a guy that like needs to be in the show. But that'd be kind of interesting if you split them up that way, because like the guys with pre-knowledge, like Tommy building that stack, it's very obvious. Like he's seen the show before. He knows how to make this work
for sure.
So
I obviously have never done anything like these, but as soon as I seen that, I've seen enough Survivor. It's like right away, my only thought is triangle.
Triangles.
Yeah.
Triangles. Yeah.
Right away, I was like, I don't know exactly. Like I know though, triangle.
And
I
know they were building like triangles all by their sides, and I'm like, this is just like you're just making it weaker. But I don't know.
It was so funny too, because like at first when I hear Jeff go, it's a 30-minute time limit. I'm like, shit, like that's kind of long. Not like that we would need it, but then I'm like, you know what? That actually might not be long enough. And then you get the highlight video of everyone basically just sitting there at one tower up, just being too dumb to do anything.
And I think they were looking at each other, and that's why they were going wide. Like one person looked, and they're like, "Oh, that person's building like a foundation." Shout out Tim Richards. But so like, oh, I got to do a foundation.
It was fucking wild, absolutely wild. I think. Oh, you know what? One big thing. Here we go. The winner of tonight, Rhea. I would have a very tough. I get the split between her and Dave. After seeing, I don't know if the jury saw it, but after seeing how she reacted after the Rico vote, I could never vote for her. I never I don't like to use the word under any circumstance, but it was the cringiest fucking shit I have ever seen in my life. When she taps her hip like a holster, she's like, I guess it's between me and you. It's like, no, there's 3 other people here as well.
Right.
Don't really know what you're talking about.
Said as much too.
I would say during those moments, like I think everybody who went deep into the show had moments on camera that they probably regret and they wish weren't in the series. And again, I think that's where you have to give the editing staff or whoever's in charge of putting it all together like some credit, because there's no way Rhea wanted that in the series. Like, you know, looking at that, she even knows, like, cinema, like, I look like a fucking asshole here. But, like, they still put it in there. And, again, like, I think that's kind of what makes the show a little bit different. Like, people are still worried about, like, their brands after this. And it's not just some, like, Johnny whoever Survivor guy. Like, these people have real-life implications. And, yeah, it makes it like no other show, in my opinion.
I saw that and my skin crawled. Go ahead, Steve.
I imagine she was working on like pure adrenaline, because she's sitting there like, should I play this idol? Should I not play this idol? And it works out to the fact that she shouldn't. And then she just pops up and it's just starts spit in her mouth. And like John said, like when Dave catches onto that and starts getting like kind of questioning, like that puts a question in everybody else's mind. So if that was earlier in the game, I think she'd be gone. But the fact that there's so few people left, there were only so many plays to be made. But if there were, say, 12 people left, I could easily see people being like, all right, well, she's kind of a loose cannon. Let's get rid of her.
Mm. So that leads to her
playing it, though. I was just saying, it was kind of ballsy not playing it, though. Like,
absolutely. For sure. Very ballsy.
Yeah, you've got the adrenaline going. But, yeah, I totally agree. Once she did that, I actually thought the worm was going to turn completely after that moment on her.
That kind of like led to the whole change to the laugh, shift for me though. Like Dave appeared like he was trying to help Rico out, But I think we didn't see it like in the edit, but I think Dave made like a conscious decision. Like, I'm better off going to the final with Megan than I am with Rico. Because in the prior vote, Moobs very much showed her true allegiance was to Dave because she voted Keegs with Dave. Rhea voted Rico. If she was truly aligned with Rhea, she would have voted Rico. She instead went with Dave. So if Dave had been like, hey, we're saving Rico and we're voting out Rhea, or not Rhea, but Megan, I'm sorry, voting out Megan, Moobs would have, like, I would have been stunned if Moobs didn't go with it.
Yeah.
So I feel like, to me, Dave like consciously chose to not bring Rico to the final.
Yes.
Which I feel like that's a big move for Dave in a way. Like, knowing that Moobs isn't going to get the votes as much as Rico might. Because you guys have already said that you guys might, give you a vote to Rico at the end.
Right. I think Rico was definitely the more. I think Dave knew out of everybody there, if Rhea wasn't in the final, then if it would just replace Rhea and Rico, I think Rico gets the same amount of votes and he wins. Like, I don't think Dave was going to win if Rhea or Rico was in the finals, just based off the way people were talking. It wasn't going to be Megan. She only got 2 votes. Dave got some votes for the way he played, but ultimately it was the person who wasn't Dave was going to get the most votes. And in my opinion, Rhea may have played a good enough game to sway people like Kirk and a couple other people, but she ultimately had enough votes to win no matter what.
The way this voting hashed out tonight tells me that there was no way Dave was going to win, even though I thought he could have.
Right.
Obviously, I think people put more stock in the Rhea. But I think even if you boot Rhea out of that final 3 and you put Rico in, I think Rico wins.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I do think that it felt like, at least with the edit, that Dave was pulling for Rico until that Will text came in. Then all of a sudden he was just like, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
If he interpreted that Will was on Team Rico, and then at that point he's like, fuck that. Like, I not only do I not want the Bussin' Boys to win this thing, I don't want them to have the satisfaction of voting for somebody that wins. Yeah. So that's when he's like, well, screw it, Rico. I'm just going to go to the final 3 with these guys and see what happens.
Steve, I'm so glad you brought that up because I had written down that I think Dave was glad. Well, obviously he was glad about the Will text because he could blame Will for not bringing Rico instead of having to put it on himself. Yeah. Like he used that as almost like a scapegoat to get around not bringing Rico, even though he said he would. So I think he was pumped in that moment to be able to do that.
It's a good point.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. I like that a lot. Let's see. Was there anything else big? Oh, you know what I wanted to mention? Shout out Coach. I like Coach's fit a lot tonight. I saw that. I was like, right away, I was like, that's a fit I'd rock. White tee, sport coat. He had the khakis tucked into the white tongue, the big, I think it was Reebok. I think he was shout out the sponsor, but he had the big tongue white sneakers. I was like, yo,
yeah,
that is a cinema fit if I've ever seen one.
But come on, pants you would never wear pants in that scenario. There's zero chance you wear pants.
Listen,
that was the funniest shit when I was in studio and I run down a huge I'm sitting there, my brain's working, I'm fucking running through all of these options and scenarios, and I'm like, what do you think? And he's just like, why do you have pants on?
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing here?
I'm glad you said that because I had a list of best dressed tonight.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right. So, disclaimer, Jeff D. Lowe, top of the list no matter what. The iconic walk with the $250,000 walking down the streets of Chicago.
White pants?
In a Hawaiian shirt, a white pants. Are you kidding me? Jeff D. Lowe wins best dressed. But we'll get him aside from that.
Jeff's fade was never like that his hair was not out of place for 1 second of filming the entire show.
Can we just say too how great Tommy was every time he followed Jeff to the voting booth or down the street? Like the way they put him behind him in the shot just made me laugh every single time. Like, we need Tommy in the game next year.
100%.
We need him.
Hey,
we need more Tommy.
We do need him.
Couldn't you see Clemmer in that Tommy role though? Like wearing the zebra outfit, following Jeff, running around, picking up the pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. Clemmer's the big Survivor guy.
So I got Jeff D. Lowe number 1. Again, that's just because he's Jeff D. Lowe. Haircuts every day. He's number 1 on the list. Best dressed. But as far as the contestants go, Megan making money number 1. Again, no bias there. No bias for anything there. She just delivers. We'll just put it that way. And there's no reason not to vote for Megan making money. She always looks fantastic. Number 2, Kirk Minahan, little asterisk, little bit here at the top, waist up. The pants were ridiculous.
No.
They were
Great
even
pants.
pants.
Don't listen to this.
They're just ridiculous.
So were those the same pants that Whitney called them out on?
No,
They're different, right?
no. Those are way too
Those are
ridiculous.
more like
Ridiculous is what those
what do they call them? Like parachute pants. The one
Those were like, those were linen parachute.
they were like blown out
MC
when you
Hammer.
walked in, yeah.
And finally, number 3, I said Roan. I like the black on black. I thought he was kind of stunting there. Yeah, I thought he was ready to go tonight. Honorable mention, Taylor Luong. No suit jacket. Looked like a lumberjack. Didn't really give a fuck, but at least he played to his look. I thought that's pretty authentic by him. For if anybody's not going to wear a suit, Taylor Luong gets away with it. He's 6'9". He can pull it off.
Rico puts on the suit and he slicks his hair back, and the suit completely takes away the little neck that he has. And then he starts walking away. It's like, oh yeah, no, this guy could be in Sopranos. Like, yeah, no, I get it. He's a dog off a leash. He's crazy.
I'll also give Megan some credit. She never smiled tonight. She was still so
she was
pissed
fucking
off
miserable.
the entire
Dude,
time.
Rhea didn't smile tonight, bro.
She didn't. Like you wouldn't think that she won $250,000 because she didn't seem happy. And then Megan, like the only way she was going to smile is if she won money, and she didn't, and she looked just so miserable the whole time. That's sad.
Megan, I thought, regardless, I thought she looked phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought she looked
I guess
great.
the face, I guess.
John, no, she looked.
It's a very horny group chat.
Yeah.
That is MMM
Very
for
horny group chat.
Pat Ford on this.
There was one other small thing that came at the reunion that I did like. They were talking about ideas for next season, and I think it was it was Witt again. Witt cracked me up a lot tonight. He said he mentioned Amazing Race, which has been a conversation on the KMS show as well. But his response, I think at one point I wrote it down. He just literally said, he was just like, Amazing Race. He's like, just throw your money at it. And he was talking that he said, open your wallet. He said, open your wallet to Dave. Amazing Race would be great. And Kirk had a good idea. He said, get the 24 participants, like get them all agreed on, 24 people, and then randomize the team. So nobody knows who their teammate's going to be going into it. That's a great idea, because that way you can still market the big personalities and the big shows, and you can do all that, and you can get rid of that, biasness. Hopefully that was a part of the season.
Didn't Kirk pitch an idea? He had like a 2-man idea.
Two-man.
You go in with
Amazing Races too. Right. This would just
But
be randomized, but yeah.
But he sounds like he wants to do Survivor with two
Survivor with two people.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard Would say Amazing Race.
No, I'm on an episode of KMS at one point.
All right,
a month ago, at some point, Kirk was like, "Well, I had this idea where you go into Survivor as a 2-person group, and you guys do everything together."
My mistake. Mick, you know who I'd have in the bonus odds? He had a bad bounce back season. Is Jersey Jerry?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Stuff happens a lot.
Yeah.
You had a
He's
bad
someone
season. Bounce
You don't
back.
have to worry about Jerry sitting on the bed after challenges or anything like that. Jerry's always scrambling. He's always trying to screw people over. He was you could tell Dave wanted him out after season 3 or whatever it was.
I like the idea of that redemption challenge, Steve, that you brought up, I think, last episode. That's a pretty cool idea, especially since I started playing on the house a little bit more.
Mhm.
If they did add that element, I thought that'd be pretty cool.
The house. So if we talk about this later, like I do have ideas for next year, but the house
we
was
can basically
obviously
get to that.
so
if you like.
entertaining that like you could easily play off of that and make some really spicy things for next year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
It would be cool,
agree.
especially if it's completely blind. Like if all of a sudden Jeff D. Lowe it's the loser's house and the guys are playing fucking knockout, and then you got 2 guys eating factor meals in the kitchen, and all of a sudden Jeff D. Lowe just strolls in there and he's like, all right, guys, like right now, challenge to get back in the show.
Yep.
That's awesome. Like I'm totally in for that.
Would love that. Yep.
I was glued to my seat when whenever they would show the footage from the house, like the dynamic of I was just looking in the background, who was smiling, if anybody was arguing. They showed Kelly Keegs and Clemmer arguing. I was loving that. Like you could make a whole documentary on just 48 hours in that house. It would be fantastic.
When
It's a
Kelly
great
walked
example of
in
how we
there-
knew Kerrick was going to go with Dave, like those conversations with Kelly in that house. He was like, I don't need to hear the speeches. Like because she was obviously vouching for Rhea.
Right.
And he was like, no, I don't even need to hear it. Like my vote's already decided. And
Until he heard it, though.
being swayed. Yeah. No,
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
I was hoping we'd see more like like fireworks from Keegs in the house just because she like alluded to it. But like,
Yes.
So that's my question too, is she goes in there and basically asks Will straightforward, like about the text message, and Will denies it. But one of the very like careful caveats in that is she said, did you text Rhea, blah, 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 to mess with her head? And Will says no. But he obviously did. So I wonder if he was like saying no to like the part of messing with her head. Because I think we can all agree, like, I think his text was a very honest, like, hey, vote out Dave, you're gonna win this game, versus like actually fucking with her. So do you guys think Will was like trying to manipulate Kelly there, or do you think he was like answering that question honestly? Because I think she just swayed it in like a negative way.
I don't think Will, just based off the way they played it and the way Will looked on that couch, or they're up top on the rooftop, I imagine, what I remember. Will did not look like he was trying to play some mind games. I think he was genuinely caught off guard. When Kelly came in and was like, you're fucking with her head, he was like, what are you talking about? Like, maybe Will's a better actor than I'm giving him credit for, but I think he was caught off guard with how hot Keeks came in the house. She was like, if you remember when she left the house, when she left the office, she was like, I hate hanging out with the boys. These fucking guys are going to be having fun. Like, this is the last thing I want to do. Then she goes in there and Will's like, everybody's genuinely nice to her. And it's like, hey, Kelly, you played a great game. And Will's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So I think that again alludes to, Kirk said it on KMS, people lose their fucking mind during this game. And I think those guys had been far enough removed from it, maybe a few hours or a day or so, where they were kind of laughing about it. When Kelly walks in the door, she's like, I'm, guns blazing, ready to kill people. Everyone's like, just relax. Like, it was a game. We're having fun here. It just shows the dynamic. It makes it so much better that these people have to work together and know each other. It's great.
They literally put a glass of wine in her hand and she went from fucking 12 to like 2. Like she just relaxed. She just chilled out. I was like, and she was like, oh, it wasn't you, Will? And Will's like, no. And she's like, okay, cool. And she
was just say,
kept drinking her wine.
Will was vegging on that couch with his feet up. I vegged on the couch with my feet up like that many a time, quite frequently, actually. I was doing it a little while ago. I showed you guys the picture, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he had maybe popped one of those Clemmer edibles, or he had a Gilly blunt. Will looked like he was chilled out.
It's a weird thing where like your feet are kicked up and your ears don't work as well. So I wonder if that was like a Will thing. Like he's like, I'm just chilling. Like I'm really not listening to you in this moment. I'm just gonna nod and say yes. Or
been playing knockout. What's up, Kelly? How you doing? Fuck with the game now.
Have some white wine, Kelly.
That Kirk, again, Larry David-esque, going up to the producer right when he gets knocked out and be like, yeah, book me a fucking hotel room. Like, we're not doing this. Like, immediately, he walked in there, was probably there for 15 minutes, was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm all set.
That him saying no to Big Cat was just one of, like, I mean, there's so many great Kirk moments, but that one's gonna definitely hold some real estate in my brain.
Yeah.
Just like obviously, like, Kirk interacts with Barstool like plenty, but he's not like one of the, when you think of Barstool echelon, you don't think like Kirk, and you think obviously like Big Cat, and Big Cat just got put in a fucking corner by Kirk in 2 seconds. Like, Big Cat didn't even argue it; he just put his head down and just walked away, and it was just like, we just got alphaed.
I know it, and Kirk kind of walked into the house. Like, he wasn't even playing at that point. It's like, so. I mean, Big Cat could have just picked up a ball, but he's like, no, I have to listen to Kirk here.
Yeah.
Kirk's like, I'm done playing, but you can also not fucking play, bro.
We didn't really touch on it, but when Kirk went up and did his speech in the finale, like, he just buried Big Cat. That's all. Like, he didn't care about Dave or Rhea or Megan. He just went up there to bury Mass Cat. Like, that was his only goal. And then he sat back down and was like, oh.
He stood up and then immediately turned his body. It wasn't even like he faced the camera where he's supposed to be. He turned around and like rotated his body and looked right at Big Cat. I was like, I don't give a fuck about the rest of this shit. You're a phony. You're a fraud. Blah blah blah. It was intense. It really was. I mean, that's why you have to have Kirk in there next season.
Yeah.
Like,
and no one's ever been around hearing Big Cat being talked to that way.
Right.
Ever.
And do you guys remember, I'm sure you guys all listen on Name Show, like when they were talking about the cast, like Kirk was not in the original cast for the show. Like Kirk sort of fought his way into the cast, into the cast. And like, I think now it's like an automatic. Like you have to have Kirk now because
Steve, was that for
firecracker?
Was that for the most recent season or the one before that? Like, was he fighting to get in for?
No, it was
This
one.
season.
Really?
This season. Yeah,
Even
it was
last season.
Yeah,
Because
even after last season,
he was kind of the talk of the town.
Because Dave was trying to pull up the all-star cast, and I think Dave's biggest thing was he wanted the biggest numbers, right? He wanted the biggest TikTok followers, movie.
Yeah.
He wanted the biggest Instagram. He wanted all that stuff. And I think Kirk didn't hit the mark on those things. And I think that's why he was on the fringe. But I think Kirk kind of like fought his way in on the Unnamed show. And then obviously it's like you have to have Kirk. Like you have to have guys like that just to fucking throw a fucking like a firecracker into the fucking pot and see what happens.
Yeah. That's so funny because you're absolutely right. And then you look at this season and what's going on to Big Cat right now. And that's so objectively hilarious because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't matter how big your fan base is. If they're filled with lunatics,
and imagine
a very different breed of people.
And imagine if Kirk didn't drop that one Newton Mass comment. How different would this game be?
Well, if you remember during one of the challenges after Kirk's team lost, he threw like a mini meltdown, which we've all seen. But he threw like a kind of temper tantrum, and Portnoy said, "Are you really going to waste the good Manafan the good Manahan meltdown on this?" And Kirk, I think, said something like, "Don't worry, I got more," or he said something like "sly," and he just shows like, just give it time, let it brew up a little bit, and he just fucking snapped on Big Cat. It was, again, like if you don't have the exact same cast in the next season, you know, you could probably take out the Arian Foster, and maybe a couple other people, but I think you have to have Kirk, Big Cat, Portnoy, the main players in this season. Run it back; it makes it that much more interesting.
With that said, Arian Foster was one of the only people who had the fucking thought to try to get Dave out early, and Francis actually. People forget about that.
And Roan, Francis,
and Roan as well, and Whitney as well.
So I'll say before we get into the next season, because I think we all have thoughts on next season. Do you guys have like the biggest like stock up, stock down versus of like the people that came into the show, how you felt about them and how they kind of finished?
Other than Big Cat, you mean?
Well, Big Cat I think is the biggest stock down for sure. Like he's my biggest stock down. Like, and also like I was like neutral about Megan making money, but like her stock plummeted in the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
Do you have any like people on this list that like you watch in Survivor? They're like, oh, like I'm a fan of this guy now, and I hope I see more of him going future or her going forward.
Mine would be Francis, and he's had an up and down relationship with KMS. He's actually, little shout out here, he was the first ever interview for the Beyond Average podcast. So I've always, way back when, 5-6 years ago. So I've always had a little soft spot for him. I know he's been up and down here with the Minifan audience, but
it wasn't that MMA guy that you pretended to interview.
John's jokes. Nice, John. I like that.
It's almost Friday. John's ready to go.
Show up tomorrow, John.
Jesus Christ. But no, I thought I don't know, like anyone else other than that, maybe Portnoy. It hurts for me to say that, but I think Dave might be stock up. Like I thought Dave
stock up
because Cinema. If you remember during these episodes, I said Dave lost his fastball. Dave ended up in the final 3 and was the most controversial person in this whole entire series. Was burning his employees left and right. Like Dave showed that he doesn't give a fuck anymore. Even if we say people.
As a huge Dave guy, I've been a Go Press Go guy for the majority of my life at this point, which is pretty sickening, to be honest. I actually felt like he had basically turned into a huge bitch this game. Like I couldn't believe the moves comments. I was sickened.
Yeah,
until that his speech is what I was like. Right. All right, that was like one of those times where I was like, that's the guy that I know. Like that's the Prez that I know.
Dave, I can tell you why. I didn't love Roan before. I don't know why. I didn't really have a good reason. I just wasn't a big Roan guy. But coming out of it, I'm going, all right. You know, he played hard, tried to play with some strategy, kind of partnered up with Kirk. That's going to give you a plus in my book. So I'd say stock up Roan for me.
If you like entertaining shit, Roan's very like. There's a lot of stuff like. Check out the what is it? Unoffended. I think it's.
I've seen. Definitely
the podcast. Yeah. That's him and Francis. It's like 8 episodes long. It's a bunch of them making their own songs and shit like that. It's like very, very funny. If someone said Francis a second ago, you just said Roan. It's both those guys.
I like
before Francis got fired.
I like both those guys a lot. Like like I'm kind of looking forward to like seeing more of their content going forward. Like I just listened to Francis on Bustin' with the Boys, and like that was actually a really good interview.
He just did
but
KFC too, I think.
did he? Yeah. So I don't know. I respect Francis. Also from Maine, the guy's from Maine, which I gotta give him points there. But Dave, I do love Dave, but like when he went in and was saying how like he just like eats up the anger toward him. Like he just like salivates when people are mad at him.
Yeah.
I just had to give him so much credit. I'm like, that's Dave Portnoy.
The
Like,
evil laugh too. Like,
Yes.
it's just
he just feels it, right? And he's like a bad guy in a movie where like the bad things happen, but he gets more energy from it. Like that's Dave Portnoy. And I just like, I got to appreciate that because he's a bad guy. He's a villain. And he plays it so well. And I just like, it's hard not to root for him, even though like you shouldn't root for the guy.
he's the definition of like the anti-hero. Like he's a bad guy, but you're like the audience is like, yeah, I kind of like him a little bit, even though he's treating everybody like a fucking asshole. But it's still fun to watch.
Well, you know, obviously we all love Kirk, but like, you know, if you come against Barstool, it's like we will all defend Portnoy. I feel like, right?
Yeah.
So like that's the thing is like, what did Dave say? It? He's like, you can't attack my dog when talking about Rico, but it's the same with Portnoy. Like you don't attack Prez. Like we'll fight against Prez all day long if he's going against Kirk, but like if some outsider comes against Prez, it's like, well, the Minifans, the Riders,
For sure.
the Army, the AWLs will all kind of get together to fight for Dave because like, you know,
you get some people like you get Nate Dogg going, and all of a sudden that's when you know. I love when the dog gets going.
Part of me was like that with Big Cat after I read the blog. I think we were talking about before the show. Like, I'm not gonna say I felt bad for him, but like at the end of the day, like Big Cat, he's kind of down with the cause. He's made me laugh a lot over the years. He participated with KMS. I know he's got beef with Kirk, and they're gonna probably sort that out tomorrow. But at the end of the day, if somebody was coming after Big Cat, like I think we all would be like, "Fuck this person!" Like, fuck, you know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Have we not mentioned that actually, Mick? Have we not mentioned that Big Cat's on the show tomorrow? Because Big Cat's on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be it's cinema. It is my probably most anticipated show in a long time. I have no idea how that show's going to start. I don't know if Big Cat's going to be serious and they're going to be like, look, you really hurt my feelings, or if they're going to kind of laugh about it and play it off like it wasn't that big of a deal. I have no idea how this is going to go because Big Cat cares about his image, and you can tell he responds to DMs, he tweets people back. Like I think this genuinely bothers him for the first time not being liked by everybody. So I'm excited for how it goes tomorrow.
He's going to kiss the ring.
I think this is his last stop in the apology tour because he did Yak. He did Part of My Take. He did a blog post that was like I read a lot, but like his paragraphs that are like 1,000 words each, I just can't read it. So I just ignored it and just assumed it's what he said on PMT and the Yak. But like, what happens tomorrow? Like, is that the cherry on top tomorrow? Does he say all the same things, or does he just, like Cinema just said, does he kiss the ring and like, do we bury this thing, or does Kirk just bury him? I think those are the two options.
No, tomorrow, in my opinion, is if I had to guess, I have no idea actually gonna happen, but I think it's gonna be friendly. I think it's gonna be a little contentious in the beginning, like, well, yeah, you screwed me here. Well, yeah, you did this here, like back and forth a little bit. But I think about 25 minutes in, 30 minutes in, they're gonna get a little more relaxed.
Why do you think it's gonna be that long?
I think Big Cat's in it for the whole show. I think it's an hour and a half of Kirk and Big Cat.
Wow. No, that's a lot. That's a lot. I would take the under on that one. I would take the under if we're betting.
So my brain just realized he's not still in Chicago. So let me refresh that. Yeah. My bad.
I don't think Kirk's talked to anyone on the phone for an hour.
Yeah. No, that was
maybe Nick Cattles because you wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I was anticipating like a Clemmer episode like today. Big Cat's probably gonna be on the phone for 15, 20 minutes, and I think by the end of it they'll get along and laugh.
So I know we're diverting here, but. So I was asking Shark the other day about those Sirius episodes because those Sirius XM episodes are so good. And one of those Sirius episodes was Kirk playing the K Marco song for K Marco. If you remember that, it was incredible. If you find that on YouTube. Yeah. Is it a scenario where Kirk just makes Big Cat eat it for like 10, 15 minutes and like that? And then just like hangs up on him, or is there civil discourse tomorrow? Like I'm really kind of curious how this goes.
He makes Big Cat take calls.
Yeah,
that would be great. The Steve Robinson treatment.
if he was in studio, then there's potential for that. But I think because he's remote, I don't think that's gonna happen. But imagine Big Cat walks into Watertown and just gets fucking buried for 90 minutes. That would be fantastic.
Go see some family if he goes to Watertown. Yeah,
boarding school buddies.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I think there's definitely a world where Dan just goes in and he tries to explain himself, and Kirk kind of just goes, "All right, like if we're gonna do this fucking game, I don't need it. Just like we're good. Like we're good. Let's just not even have this conversation."
I think they've played this game so much that the only thing Big Cat's gonna do is go in and say, "I'm an idiot. I screwed up. You're right. Thank you. I'm going to be better from now on." And Kirk's going to basically have no choice just to like make him eat it for a second and then just be like, "All right, like just hang up." Like that's all we got.
Yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I don't really care if Big Cat's never a part of this world again. I'm more worried about Rico. I don't want Rico to die in this world.
No.
I know right now he's not a friend, but I want Rico to come back.
Oh, he'll be back. You know how this works. He'll be back in a couple of months, couple of weeks, whatever. You'll hear his call like abruptly in the middle of some argument on KMS, and I'm like,
he's already been back a little bit.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, Kirk said he was like, he's a retard. Like, what are we supposed to like expect at this point? All right, good. Let's get Rico back in.
I want to know where the trivia team goes because, like, obviously he was with Hank and Rico, and like I love Daily Dozen, playing that game every day, and I'm watching the Dozen trivia. So I'm kind of curious where like Kirk takes his team because they've already announced like the start of the season, and we still have no idea who Kirk is playing with, and he's the best player in the league. So it's gonna be, we'll find out, I guess. But
Kirk and Tommy have to do something. It's tough though. Like Kirk can't go with Tommy and Smitty because now you're just doing all of the same things.
Yeah,
you got to get. You need like that Glenny Balls pop culture shit.
I would love to see him and Gruden and somebody else because that would just be like fireworks. I think.
I still want him to go to, especially if Bussin leaves, I want him to go with Fights and Dana. I think him, Fights and Dana would be an electric fucking team.
That's a great team.
Especially the Booze Ponies featuring Kirk Minahan is just like a great combination of dynamics.
I think it'd be Kirk Minahan featuring the Booze Ponies. But like he loves fights. Like he always says how much he loves fights. So if Mick's making odds right now, I think that might be the favorite. So.
Dana hits that college shit. Fights has got a little pop culture to add in there as far as the music and TV. It's perfect. Kirk in a Booze Ponies jersey would be great. It'd be great. Oh shit. Do you guys have anything more from tonight, this season, going forward? Anything?
We went through my notes. I pretty much hit everything. Great recapping with you guys. Fantastic television, and looking forward to the next season. Even if, again, during this season, there were some times where I wanted to slam my TV, turn it off, and say I'm never watching again. Probably sent some regretful tweets. Probably said some mean things. That being said, I am dialed in for season 5. You will see me appointment television, so I can't wait.
Mick, you tweeting things you regret? There's just no chance in hell that happened. My only question is to you guys. If you ran Surviving Barstool 2025, how would you change the game? What would you do to make it a better season this coming year versus last year?
Mine would be the vetting process. Like I call it a vetting process in quotes, but I would literally take the people that we have that are competing. If any of them are first timers, if people have played, then we don't need to do this. But if you're a first timer, you need to be sat down and shown like, this is the game that we're playing. Mm-hmm. The backstabbing, the lying, the manipulating, all of that is in this game. So don't come in here like being like, oh, do I play idols? What are idols? Don't get that shit the fuck out of here.
What's a key?
Yeah, exactly. Get it out of here.
I take out the texting as much as you can. I thought of, I don't know if this is a dumb idea or not, but I thought it'd be kind of funny if you had a idol or key tracker. So like, you know how many are out there, and when someone gets one, it subtracts, and it's up to that so now someone knows someone has one,
but you don't know who.
Exactly. So now everyone's fucking looking at each other like, well, I know someone found one.
I like that.
Oh, so the players know what's happening.
Right.
Well, no, the players know that one's gone.
Right.
So let's say there's 10. Now there's 9. Okay, there's 9. Who's got it? Do you tell people you got it? Do you keep it like now everyone's pointing the finger at each other?
Yeah.
So I will say Dave said on the Unnamed show that they're going to obviously do something like this in the future, but he said that they might have to veer away from the survivor aspect. I don't know how he said it. He sort of phrased it like it kind of gets stale or old or whatever. So I almost anticipate like a big change, and like maybe it's like the core of it is survivor, but like a lot of it changes. Like that's a great idea, John. Like if you implemented that, that would just throw a fucking monkey wrench into the game.
Right.
Don't tell Jeff Probst that things are getting old.
Oh no, he'll
44 seasons in here.
Jeff will just change it so everybody's a they them and that sort of thing. I've got a few ideas for 2025 Survivor. Anybody wants to hear?
Hit them quick.
So I think we got to go smaller cast, which Cinema kind of hinted at. Smaller cast. I think needs to be a total surprise cast where Dave can't pick it. I think Big Cat should not be playing, and I think Big Cat should pick the cast because the only person that would know it better, the cast.
That's a good idea.
Is Big Cat. So Big Cat doesn't
make him like an integral part of the planning process. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So he can strategy wise get the cast together. He knows these people almost as well, probably better than Dave actually. So Big Cat picks the cast. Dave has no idea, but Dave still plays. That keeps Dave in the game. But it takes away a big part of that slant. Like everybody else said, like we need to verify that these people want to play and that they just don't have a bunch of TikTok followers. I'm not naming names like Mubi, but they need to like want to be able to play. Either no cell phones or like a half an hour morning, half an hour night limit.
Yeah,
like some sort of limit there has to be implemented. And then my favorite idea is Loser House has one challenge at the final 5 to decide one player going back into the game. So contestants don't know this until they get to the Loser House.
Oh, perfect.
When they're given a hint. So if the first person goes in the Loser House, was it Mincy or Clemmer? This year they would get a hint, and it would just be a little scroll that gives them a hint. And then the next person that comes in gets a different hint. Every hint builds upon itself. So they don't even know that they're potentially going back into the game. Then once you get to the final 5, everybody in that house has one challenge. It's some sort of like endurance or stamina challenge. And whoever wins that gets to go back into the game.
So Steve, you haven't thought about this at all.
I haven't thought about this at all. Hey, John, I had a quiet day at work today. I spent a lot of time thinking about this.
This is what I did for years watching Survivor with a couple of my close friends.
I had people asking me questions today. I'm like, I'm working on stuff.
Yeah, don't ask me anything today, okay? It's the finale.
Yeah, it's a finale tonight. We got a date with the boys tonight. Then I got another caveat to that. Spin zone, right? So as soon as that challenge is over, and say, Kirk goes back into the game because he wins a challenge. Jeff says, but wait, there's more. And Jeff says, one more player is going into this game, but everybody has to vote on that player unanimously. If we don't have a unanimous vote in the next 30 minutes, no second player goes back into the game. I have been watching a lot of Beast games, but that would give a nice spin to the game where you get one person back in and potentially a second person back in, but the second person is decided by everybody in the house, which would create like a crazy 30 minutes because everybody's like, well, I want to go in. Well, you want to go in. Who do we send in? Like, how do we vote this in? I don't know. It's not very like the endurance part is very typical Survivor where they have Redemption Island. The second part's a little bit more like kind of craziness, but it would create a wild episode of Surviving Barstool to see if they could actually agree on one person and who to send back.
Yeah, I think that would work only if the contestants knew that it wasn't there. Like if you could surprise them somehow, like Mincy walks in and all of a sudden he has a scroll, he has no idea that could happen. That would be, you're right, appointment television.
Right. So everybody gets a hint and like the hints build on each other. Right. So by the end of it, you get like 10 or 12 hints or whatever. They play the game, they think it's over. Somebody's going back into the house, and Jeff is like, by the way, one more person's going to go in the house, but you all have to agree on it. Because what would happen? Like, just imagine this house right now. Like, if everybody was like, okay, let's send, I don't know, Taylor back in. Would Kelly say, yeah, let's send Taylor back in? Or would she be like, no, I'm going to vote for the guy you don't want to send back in.
Yeah, no,
because I want Rhea to win.
Right.
Like it would kind of create like a really kind of crazy like 30 minutes to an hour, whatever you want to do. So I don't know. Beast Games, man. Go watch Beast Games because that shit's crazy. It's all psychological warfare. I've been thinking that way. So
Mick, John, you guys got anything else?
No,
Looking
thank you.
ahead this season,
I'm
anything
good.
like that?
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
Fuck
We'll
that.
recap
Thank
with
you guys.
at any point. Yeah.
I appreciate all you guys coming on and doing this. This has been fun as hell.
been great.
Like I said, this has been a scratch that I desperately needed to itch. But thank you boys very much for doing this. This was really fun. Shout out to Kirk. Can't wait to see you in season 5. I'm sure you're gonna fucking dominate. And for now, happy watching. We'll talk to all you guys again soon.
Take it easy, boys.
See ya.
Later.